Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Daniel Gormally. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to do something a little bit different. We do a little bit of commentary on European Championships. It's currently taking place in the I believe it's in somewhere like Macedonia. Is it Macedonia or Montenegro? Anyway, interesting game developing between John Paul Wallace playing against Vitaly Sivak. So John Paul Wallace has gone all in with a sack and a piece. So we go back to earlier in the opening, go through the entire game actually, and so it's quite a funky line actually that they play now, which is the Kramnik-Shirov attack. And A5 is a popular move. I think I played that myself. So White can play maybe with D4. It's another way to play. He's gone with G3. Yeah, and this seems to be okay-ish for black, but so black could just simply castle and play that position, I suspect. But generally this pawn structure for white is better. I think it's slightly better for white. Because after bishop g2, it's difficult for black to gain counterplay in the long term, maybe because if you go c6, intending later d5, then knight b3 might be a bit awkward, and then if the bishop moves, d6 is hanging. So he decides to go for a more radical solution. I'm guessing this is kind of more his style, John Paul Wallace. So John Paul Wallace is an IM who's moved around a bit. I believe he's originally from somewhere like Australia, but he did live in England for quite some time, doing chess coaching, lived in London, but then he seems to have moved to Norway now. And but clearly this is maybe his style, is to play aggressive chess. Leads it to a very interesting position actually. Knight e5. So if you take on c4, I have queen a4 check, forking the king and the knight, so that would be a mistake. So again, black has played very radically. I mean, I might consider a move like bishop d7 just to... But the problem is, it's very kind of... The whole position is very concrete because white at some point, as we see in the game, is probably going to play f4, I guess. Maybe just castle and play f4. So if you go bishop d7, for example, let's say you went there, and I castle and you castle, maybe f4 is a problem. See, John Paul Wallace, a player I think I played before. I don't have a very good record against him. I might even have 0 out of 2 against him. But he's probably a bit weaker than he was when I played him before. Then again, so am I. Maybe f4 is a problem. And also this king is looking a little bit shaky with a bishop. Once we go f4, this... Okay, maybe you can take, I guess, and just allow this. I guess I take with a rook, because if I take with a pawn, that's losing material. Bishop d4, queen d4, knight f3 check. If I take with this pawn, I'm going to open up this file. So probably take with rook. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is also playable actually for black. But he went all in, very aggressive way to play the position. But it does allow this knight b5 move. So if you go here, then maybe there might be some tactical issues then. Is that actually a move, or is that just a bad move? I mean, maybe you could have played this as well. Maybe just... It might be considered to be a little bit slow, bishop b6. Maybe that's why he didn't play it. Can't see anything wrong with it, I must admit. Maybe black's already doing quite well. So it went h5, sorry, went king d8. Knight c3 would seem like a good move to drive the queen away. So a lot of these positions, they come down to judgment, right? It's like, do I judge that I'm doing well? Do I judge I can beat off your attack? It's hard to judge this position because, you know, I mean, if white does nothing, then, well, this is a threat, so I have to... I could play e4, but then maybe that was possible. So in the game, he decided, right, I'm going to castle into it, which is very dangerous. So he could have maybe considered that move and just... Of course, the bishop would drop out, not sure where, maybe e6. I don't know what the evaluation of this position is. What's the evaluation? It's saying the black is actually better, interestingly enough. Yeah. So we decided to cast into it. And yeah, already black seems to be doing fairly well. So he did take the pawn, understandable. King e7 maybe wasn't necessary. Maybe could also gone to c7 because you kind of feel like I don't want the king in the center, but maybe there was specific reasons you didn't like king c7. I mean, king e7 looks natural enough. So this is good stuff by Wallace, I must admit. You know, h forward maybe is also considered. Yeah, now so decided to go all in. Very dangerous attack now. And we got this position. He's decided to sack the rook. I think that was necessary. All of a sudden you get threats like rook here and then rook h1. It's just a very simple threat. I'm going to go here and here, so I have to do something quickly. So white is now thinking he's got 9 minutes left. I think white might just be lost here. I mean, it just looks too dangerous, this whole h-file attack. So this could be an excellent result for John Paul Wallace. But I might be wrong. I might misjudge this, but it looks very, very ugly. To have allowed all this. I think white is in big trouble. Because if we go bishop d2, I bring the rook across. And if you go queen e1, I have rook takes g2 and queen f3, and this is crashing. So who do people think will win the European Championships? Another question I always wondered about the European Championship, European Chess Championships. I think it's been going for 20 odd years, right, in its current form. I'm not sure there was a European Individual Chess Championships before that. Been lots and lots of wins. If you go through the roll call of winners, as well, you can see there's a couple of, you know, players from the British Isles, Taran Can Morales from Ireland, and Daniel Fernandez, who's from England. They both drew. Daniel Fernandez is having an okay tournament. He's got +1. Did lose in the first round, which is a surprising result. But yeah, if you go through the roll call of winners, there's a number of Russian winners over the last 14. When I looked at it, the last 14, even further back than that, there's a lot of Russians who won. Last 14 winners, 12 of them were either Russian or ex-Russian. So when I say ex-Russian, last year's winner, Serrano, no longer represents Russia because obviously the problems with the war in Ukraine. A lot of Russians have left Russia. But he obviously was originally Russian. Potkin has won the Russian championships. You've got other names like Jakovenko's won it. Yevgeny Tomaszewski's won it, who is known as sort of had a reputation as a professor. Jakovenko, as far as I'm aware, he was in the top 10 in the world at one point. He was famously one of Carlsen's victims in the tournament in China. Going many years back, which Carlsen got like a 3,000 performance. It was when he's kind of first sort of, you know, had his breakthrough to kind of 2,800 level. And Topolov was in that tournament as well. Tomaszewski is known as Professor because he's a great technician. Potkin's won it. Tiviakov is another one who's won it, who ex-Russian again, represents the Netherlands. I'm trying to think of some other Russians who have won it. But basically it's been dominated more or less. Maxim Malatko is another one, a well-known theoretical expert. But yeah, and I think it's, I would say the reason for that is I feel like generally Russian players are mentally strong. And, well, obviously they're good. That's one thing. They're mentally strong, and it's obviously a grind. It's a tough mental grind when you're playing European Chess Championships. It's 11 rounds. I've never actually played in it. The closest I came, I was actually had a flight booked to Ohrid in Macedonia in 2001. I think it was 2001. It was something like 2001, 2002, 2003. It was either, yeah, it was one of those years, and I didn't get on the flight. And because I was a nervous flyer, still am. So that was a real sad moment in my career. So I never got the chance to play the European Championships. most of the years it's kind of in more in the Eastern Europe sort of stratosphere rather than Western Europe. I think it was in France maybe one year. A few of my friends have played in it. I think Richard Pert maybe has played. But yeah, a lot of Russians. And also because they're toughened up by the Russian Championships. So the Russian Championships, obviously, you're competing against other 2,700 players. So success breeds success. We're seeing that now with India as well. But yeah, there's a lot of very good Russian chess players. And that's always been the case pretty much. I was reading this book about the whole Soviet Union. So it's called, I did a review of it on my channel. It's called Masterpieces and Dramas. And they did this thing where they were talking about, like, Botvinnik was a fully signed up member of the Communist Party, right? So he wasn't always, although he was generally well regarded by his colleagues, maybe later, people treated him with a little bit of suspicion because obviously he's kind of as closely associated with the Soviet state. And Karpov was the same because he was also very much, a man of the communist state. Anyway, I'm kind of going off the... Yeah, so that game is looking good for John Paul Wallace. I mean, imagine if we turn on the computer evaluation, I think he's going to say that White's getting hammered here. Yeah. So where was the big mistake? So this is all fine. Maybe Bishop F4 actually wasn't the best. Saying just take. Sometimes in life, it's simpler if you just play simple moves, right? Maybe that was, we're talking about time being a key issue in chess. And White is just indulged with time too much in this game. So he already put himself under pressure with some of these moves. Again, you might look at this position, it might just be a misjudgment at White's part. You might think, yeah, White's doing well because, if the attack doesn't land, the king's in the centre, I'm rolling with my pawns. So it's a kind of maybe it's a misjudgment thing by White. And yeah, I've already fell into a bad line. Fell into some good preparation because this now looks hopelessly lost. He shouldn't have taken actually. No, she's already bad by this point. Yeah, it's already completely hopeless. So maybe he needed to go. Yeah, great game by Black. Let's have a look at the top boards. Board 164. That game is a fairly quick draw. Frederick Svein is pushing against... this guy is winning actually. This guy is 2600. But he does very, very well in Blitz Online. He's like a sort of Naroditsky, like a Greek Naroditsky in the sense he's not that high rated. But, over the board, he's obviously a very decent player, don't get me wrong, he's 2600, right? But he's phenomenal online. So it could well be that Kramnik is turning his attention. How do you actually win this position, though? It's not so simple to win. Normally, Rook is much better than Knight in endings, and you can play these endings slowly. So one plan might be to bring the Rook back and slowly bring the King over. You're slightly concerned that Black might go c5 if you do that plan. Block you out. So if you go b4, the Knight is coming into d5 to aim at the fixed form. So how's the engine doing it? Because I'm lazy, yeah. So if I go here, if you go c5, Rook a1, of course, yeah. Careless. Overlooking that. How's Nikita Vitayugov getting on? Very sharp position. He kind of needs a win, right? Because you win, you're right in the mix. I mean, yeah, knight g6. I mean, Black is holding, so White is. What's the white material? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would say that Black is doing okay here. What's my judgment? I'd say it's approximately equal, but Black is probably under more pressure than white, I would say, because to me it looks like black has a slightly shakier king, but I could be wrong about that. What do we think? I mean, how are we judging this? What also, it's not just a question of judging. What is your actual next move by white? Okay, one move I was wondering about if I could with the rook here at some point, with the idea of breaking with a6. If you take with a rook, on b7 is going to hang. If you take with a pawn, I'm going to have a rook b8. Yeah, black wants to get f4 as well. So yeah, who's your tip to win? So another thing I was going to say about European Championships is, generally speaking, the best European players who's not played, right? So if you go back, you know, since 2000, when was 2008? Or 16 years ago. Probably since then, Magnus Carlsen has been the best European player. Arguably the best player in the world since 2008, since he turned 18. You know, I think I was reading a book earlier, a very good book by Visciano. I'll try to review for it on the YouTube channel. And he was talking about how he won the World Championships in 2008. Funny enough, at the start of the book, it's called Mind Master, sort of like lessons in life by, you know, World Chess Champion or whatever. Very good book, very interesting. I'll try and do a review of it, but I want to read the whole book this time because I made a mistake in the past of like doing reviews on books before I've actually read the whole thing. Yeah, so he won't take this thing out of the f4 break. So now, you know, black can't play f4 so easily. Yeah, he was talking about how when the World Championship match with Kramnik was first put together, Kramnik was making these sort of like, the Kramnik team was making these crazy demands, like, you know, Anand should not talk in German during the championships because Kramnik doesn't speak German. You know, he speaks Russian and English, which is surprising. It's surprising to me actually that Kramnik doesn't speak German because he won Dortmund on many occasions. He never got around to learning language. Anyway, so he didn't want to feel humiliated by the fact that Anand was speaking German and he wasn't. So he asked, and obviously Anand viewed that as rather a silly request, as you would imagine. But yeah, when you're reading it, it sounds like it's from the Kramnik team. But now you know everything that Kramnik's done. It clearly just came from Kramnik himself. It's clearly telling his team to say this, right? So, but yeah, I mean, around about that period, you could argue that Carlsen was already like the best player in the world and could possibly have beaten either of those two in a match already, even by the time he was 18. You know, given, I mean, Gukesh is now considered a favourite. I think he's only like 18 himself against Ding. And he's Gukesh is good a player at 18 as Magnus was at 18. It's a debatable one, isn't it? I mean, I might go with Magnus. But yeah, the point is that in all that period, he never played. As far as I'm aware, he never played European Champion. It's possible he did. Does anyone know that if Magnus has ever even played in the European Chess Championships? Probably has when he was younger. But not just him, people like MVL haven't really played in it much. Nepomniachtchi, when Russia was part of Europe, I believe he's now part of Asia. Part of the Asian Chess Federation. So technically Russians won't be able to win European Championship in the future. It'll only be ex-Russians. Who else? I'm forgetting. Levon Aronian when he was Armenian. Maybe Armenia is not part. No, Armenia would be considered to be part of Europe as well as part of Asia. So he never played. He was world number 2. Fabio Caruana when he was Spanish. And obviously people like Topalov didn't really play much in European Championships. Probably forgetting other Ali Reza Firouzja doesn't play European Chess Championships. He currently represents France. So yeah, I mean, you look at it like that, and you think, is this genuinely a European Championships? But then again, I won the British Championships earlier this year, as I never hesitate to remind people. And people like Michael Adams were not playing. People like David Howe, who won the British Championships in the past, British Rapid Play Championships in the past, as well as the main British Championships. Gawain Jones was not playing. Luke Shane was not playing. Matthew Saddle was not playing. People like that were not playing. So therefore, am I technically British Rapid Play champion? I think if those guys were playing, I probably wouldn't have won. So yeah, it's an interesting point to raise. Yeah. So this looks okay for Black anyway. Is it better for Black? The more I look at it, the last few moves, there's quite a dangerous threat of Black attacking on. Oh, they've agreed to draw. I'm not surprised. I don't really like White's position that much. Looks a little bit dangerous for White, so I'm not understanding. Not surprised they agree to draw. I would say that Black is maybe slightly better here. Yeah. Fedoseev, right? It was a beautiful moment in Fedoseev. We'll get to it in a minute. I'll just hide the moves. You may have seen this game already, but I'm going to quiz you on this because this is a real test. Can you play like a Fedoseev, who's a top seed for European Championships? There was one moment in this game which really impressed me. Yeah, A4 is a good move because you want to hold up Black on the Queen side. I feel like that's a underrated art of being a top player. Is having the patience to just make moves like that and just, you know, it comes down to understanding. You've seen that before, and it's like a pattern recognition thing. You see that move, and right, A4 is a good move. I'll play A4. You know, got to have that ability to have that patience to gain space because, you know, Black's not really got any immediate threats. G5 is gonna just be met with FG. E5, I'm covering that. C5 is a break for Black, but I go A4. So maybe Black could have gone C5. But yeah, so at this point, Black could have taken, and White could either take with a pawn or queen. If he takes with a queen, yeah, one idea was go 98. Check this, and actually the engine says that Black is more than fine. The queen can pop back, the knight can come in. So I think at this point in the game, Black was doing okay. It's slightly surprising he just played the most obvious move, which is just to take. He went rook b7. Again, maybe taking was the way forward. So Fedoseev really manoeuvred around quite. I think knight c2 was quite a nice move. But it looks on the face of it quite okay. But this was a good break as well. Maybe Black. Yeah, how do you deal with these problems? Like you could go knight f5, right? Kadrich is this guy actually who got banned recently by chess.com. There was a big Reddit post by him, I think. I think they shut him down for computer cheating. He is obviously a very good player over the board. But it's possible he was a bit naughty with the engine, we just don't know. It's happened a lot lately. So obviously one plan that White has to potentially think about is playing c5 anyway. And getting the c5 square for the rook. Or maybe taking. Maybe Black was worried about taking, and then you have to take out the pawn, and then the rook coming in. Or doubling on the c file. Not great analysis by me. What does the engine say? We'll come back to that. Maybe we'll come back to that position later. Yeah, this is where the problem started for Black, because he took and then he went here. Now White played a brilliant move, in my opinion. Although, you know, a lot of you might find this move, but White to play. You might want to pause your video and think, what would White do in this position? So if you've unpaused it, okay, think about the position. What is White, you know, again, what is White intending to do? What is Black intending to do? What does Black want from this position? What does White want? Looks okay for Black, right? Knight is there. A very typical idea where the knight is on e4. If you play the bishop b5 check Sicilian, the Moscow attack, there's variations like that where the black knight gets to e4 and then you retreat. And the idea, that's what he played, which is the top move. It's the only way to get a huge advantage, actually, maybe even a winning advantage. So the very idea now is that f3 is coming in and exposing this knight. There's also black maybe wanted to play queen a7, which, you know, you can always meet with rook c1, but slightly annoying. Knight e1, great move, in my opinion. And black played... f5, which is, yeah, that's a sign that something's gone wrong. So the question is, after king g7, what would white play? What would white play here? There's a, you know, what would you... Why is f3 not good? So basically you go knight d3. And I think white's a lot better, apparently. This is, the point is, eventually this will come. But why don't you go f3 immediately? That's the question to you again. Think about it. Why is this... Why doesn't that just win, right? It's actually a bad move. f3. I think it's not losing, but you go here. This is the point, I think. And then now, again, if I go here, you have knight d3 and you're probably just winning, I guess. Well, I suppose it's e5. No, but then b4. Problem is you take here. And that's a very annoying move. Because if you take with the king, have queen c7. Very nice ideas. And if you go here, for example, I'll come back. And if you go here, I've got the double sack. That'd be quite amusing, right? So, again, I think you could go there, but then rook here. It's not so clear because I'm going to get e5. This pawn is weak. So he went f5, but of course f5 is not a move you want to play because that gives white knight. It's really a horrible looking move because positionally, strategically speaking, that's like desperation because now the knight is going to come into e5, which is terrible for black. Yeah, and it technically is just winning now. Knight b4. f3, just killing the idea of the knight coming back into the game. Because obviously black would like to play with the knight as compensation for the exchange down. He didn't have a chance to go knight e4 there because of maybe just f3 anyway, right? I'm in time to play f3, so he went there, but now f3 just to stop that knight coming in. Good move. Now we're going to get active. Queen d4 hitting the pawn. Also threatening to switch the other rook to c1, I guess. So if you go rook there, I think I can just go, maybe even rook e1 actually might be very strong. Probably several moves are good, but it's always harder to annotate games when it's not. I mean, it's queen b6. I know queen b6, queen b2 I don't really like, but yeah, probably just rook c1 would be good, I guess, but he went knight anyway. We'll come back to that. Knight d7. And then black just resigned. Maybe it looks like premature resignation, but your king can hide there. I'm going to come in here. It's just like, well, I've had enough of it. So this was back. Yeah, so he could actually put up a bit of resistance there. He played queen c5. So I wondered about rook c7, but yeah, rook dc1 is very strong. Sorry, that's not a good move. I'm a sorry, mouse slip. Honest gov. So actually there was mistakes here. The rook b4 was a mistake. So after knight you want f5. Maybe there was something even better for white than actually winning the exchange. Yeah, it's funny here that you could go here and then go rook d4. This is even stronger, right? Incredible. And what he did. Mainly because this rook is so bad, and actually you want to keep that knight. And knight on e5 is a monster. This pawn is weak, so you can't really take and go queen b4, relieve some of the pressure, because I just take and take on c6. And if rook c7, knight e6. Wow, it's already 10-7 already. Yeah, I mean, another question I would put in the chat is, do you follow a lot of these tournaments? Do you play for the games? Do you watch the games? Yeah, so it was another question that we were talking about was earlier, wasn't it? Where yeah, I was wondering whether he could have gone. Oh, knight f5 was the best move, right? So at least I'm finding the best moves. Yeah, I wondered about that because maybe rook e7 was actually a mistake. No, that was actually also fine, but he should probably put the knight on f5 because it suddenly runs into trouble on e4. At knight f5, you can't really change that square. You go rook b1, it gets really murky, but knight e4, it's slightly yeah, but this is also rook b4 was the big mistake. So you had to be able to meet here with e5. This is what makes chess such a difficult game, because you've got to find a very precise sequence like queen c8, knight e1, e5 takes knight d3, queen g4, with the idea that f3 can be met with queen g3. I mean, there are any other moves that give equality, like there, also bad. Now this might be my next impossible quiz actually. What is the best move here for black? Like e5, bad. So is there any move that gives equality other than queen c8? Queen c7, bad. Queen d8, bad. Rook e8, bad. Yeah, rook b4 kind of looks natural. If you don't see that queen c8 is the best move, g5 is obviously bad. Probably then, okay, we'll check it anyway. Yeah. So king f8, bad. It's actually also got a threat of rook e4. So king here. Oh, alright, because he doesn't want rook e4 here because there's some... In fact, you're defending here. But once you go out to f8, I can go rook e4, takes, and then there's a queen g6 there and I'll wipe you out the kingside. So, as far as I can tell, the queen d8 is also obviously bad, yeah. You lose the queen. Queen e8. Actually, that might be the second best move, right? Queen e8. So queen e8 is not quite as good as queen c8, but it's maybe second best. Interesting. Okay, so Spain's winning. What about Blueberm's surprise loss? He's another guy that... Okay, the similar ratings, right? He's another guy that Kramnik has generally taken a bit of a swing at on yeah, this looks slightly unpleasant for black in the regards of... I didn't like taking actually. Maybe you just take... Can't you take back on f4? But I guess he was worried about some kind of counter attack on the king's side. It not. It can't be worried about that move because it just gives up the d5 square, right? e5. He took anyway, which I didn't go to e5. Looks natural, right? All kind of natural. That's actually a mistake. So he had to go f6. Yeah, it's just as a tough game, you know, because you have to go f6. So anyway, I think I'll stop there. Very short commentary. What do people think? Do they like these kind of commentary sessions? I think they're better on Twitch, to be honest. They work better on Twitch, and I'll tell you why. Because you can get the interaction with people. I mean, I'm not getting paid to do this. Obviously, the official commentators are going to get paid as well. You know, I'm just doing this I like chess, and it's not, you know, interesting looking at chess tournaments that are going on. But yeah, it's probably better on Twitch, to be honest, because you can interact with people a bit more. Whereas unless I did YouTube Live or something, I don't know how to do YouTube Live. But yeah, generally speaking with these tournaments, it's a little bit of a... I would say a guess fest, you know, because... Or guessing as to who's going to end up winning. because there's so many draws. You know, these players are so closely matched that how do you rise above the cream? You know, how do you get in a situation where you're going to win outright after? I mean, 11 rounds though is enough, I think, to maybe get a clear winner. So in my opinion, Federer say if he's got 3.5 out of 4, I would say he's the clear favourite because he's the highest rated. It's not very original, but he's the highest rated. And yeah, that move does look a bit weak actually, because the king on f7 is clearly not happy. He looks ugly for black this position, and he probably played it very well. Yeah, that's a good move. Just avoiding exchange of rooks. You want to keep this position looks unpleasant for black. Okay, even without the engine, I would say I feel unpleasant. I'd feel uncomfortable here as black. And he, obviously, yeah, he's coming up with smart tactics now. He's threatening rook g7 as well as, so he's sacked a piece. But he's got his threat of rook g7. Wow. Yeah, he's hit the rook. So he ends up winning the game. So that was a good win by Shigaev against a strong opponent. But yeah, Blueboom is one of these guys who does very well online. So Nicholas Ferruda, they're both comfortably over 23,000 online. I don't think that's unusual for a 2600 GM to be over 3,000 on chess.com. I mean, I've been over 2,800. I'm considerably lower rated. I'm 2,420. So it probably is about 200 points higher rated. It's the same with Magnus. Magnus is 3,300, right? So he's another 200 points on top of that, but then you've got the genius of Magnus that probably gives them another 100 points. Same with Hikaru, like the genius of like their online play and their just general play. You know, they're like 2,800 players. So, but yeah, they do vary. They go between like low. Sometimes they go down to low 3,200s. Sometimes they go out to 3,350. Anyway, I think I'll stop there. Thanks for watching.